Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to a wondrous tuber video. Today, we have for you a revisiting upon the Joust tier list for Season 11. We're just going to move around a few of these guys to, be a little bit more present with where we are. Let me see. We are on now patch number 11.4. So, a lot of things have happened since I made the tier list a few months ago. YouTube stinks. Come to Twitch for the big girthy energy. True! You guys do want to check out the Twitch live stream where we are recording this live. Check out the description of the video. You can find all my links down there. But we're just going to do a little bit of a shorter video here. Nothing like the 2-hour slugger we did when we put this video together the first time. And we're just going to do it in a similar fashion. We're going to go through all the different classes: warriors, hunters, guardians, mages, and then assassins. And do a little bit of a reorganization with the characters that I think have moved up or down in the list since I made this video last. If you are interested in watching the previous video to seeing all my thoughts expanded on where I thought people or gods resided on the tier list, for some more in-depth analysis, definitely check that out. The link to that video will be in the description. We're just going to be doing a little bit of a tidying up and reorganization based on changes to the meta and patch notes that have dropped to give you guys a very accurate assessment as to where I believe all these characters deserve to be on the tier list. So if you guys don't know who I am a Cosmos, well-known Joust player, I'd like to say. Been playing Joust for a long, long time. Grandmasters pretty much every season. I made the original tier list here that you see about a week after, I think. I think it was after we played in a big $3,000 Joust tournament, and we ended up winning that tournament, which was very cool. So I have a pretty good idea on what gods are good and how the meta shakes out for Joust. So let's get right into it. I'll start first with a warrior. I was about to say Osiris. We're just going to start with the warriors. Let's see. Osiris might be staying exactly where he is. I think Osiris is still incredibly strong. We're going to be keeping all characters out of the SS tier, by the way, because SS tier is reserved for characters that are, you have to pick or ban this god or you lose. And Joust is balanced enough to the point where I do not believe there is a single god that is just like, you can't beat it. But there are plenty of good bans, and those bans will be up in these higher tiers here. And you'll ban different things depending on what you want to play and what you don't want to play against, blah, 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 blah. But Osiris is still probably the strongest warrior in my opinion. He's just so tanky, dude. So tanky, gives you that instant pressure. And with the most recent change to Frostbound Hammer, I do believe Osiris finds himself the king of these auto attacker warriors, not only because he can be very good auto attack based, but because he can kind of shut down the other auto attackers. And also he can adopt more of an ability based playstyle. Sundering Axe, very strong on Osiris. So he's just able to play the game from so many different angles and limit other characters that are trying to do the same thing as him. So he is going to retain his spot as just a little bit, just a tad, just a hair stronger than the other warriors here. But moving down into the S tier, we do have to shift around some things here, I do believe. I think I'm going to be relegating Bologna down into the A+ tier here. Because honestly, I just think she's not as good as Alma and Erlong. Alma is incredibly strong team fight and objective-based play warrior that not a lot of people have mastered, but she is quite good if you can figure out that playstyle. Her secure, very good with her mirror, and her team fight, very strong with the buffs from her 1, as well as that very nice CC immune ultimate that can not only protect yourself, but allow your team to reposition and get a really good engagement onto fights. Can force people into getting beads all the time, force out a lot of different CC immune ults. So she's just like really safe, has great sustain, good damage mitigation from her shield, and just an overall amazing pick. Can melt the fire giant incredibly well with the new additions of items like Equinox. She can use that incredibly well. Frostbound as well, if you want to use that on her. She can definitely apply those Frostbound procs super nicely and kind of give you that mini horrific every 3 seconds. I still need to mess around with that myself. But Frostbound definitely a good item. Achilles, I'm very tempted to move Achilles down because I'm not going to lie to you. When I play Joust, I really don't want to play Achilles. I never feel the need, the desire to play Achilles just because, like, he doesn't do what I want to do. I want to impact the fight in so many different ways. And Achilles impacts the fight in, like, one way. He executes people. And it's really tanky. And you just get bursted no matter who you are late game as a warrior. But I have to respect his tank killing pressure, forcing people into buying beads. You playing like Achilles and Ares together, forcing people into buying beads Aegis in some scenarios. So it's just like, I have to admit, it's not quite the style I love to play, this Achilles guy, but he is quite impactful and deserves his place among the S tiers. Erlong Shen. Still incredibly strong character. New changes that have brought, Equinox, Frostbound, blah, 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 are very good on him. Auto attack warriors are still very much super relevant in the Joust meta. His pressure is really nice. He's got insane CC that sets up for his team. Erlong Shen will be staying. Now moving down to A+ warriors. Will any of these guys be making a movement up or down? I think Bellona is sitting pretty in A+. She has been nerfed a bit, so she's not as dominant as she was before. She's still really strong, though. Level 3 especially. She can kind of take the bull by the horns, just run it down, and then wave 1. Hercules can do a similar thing. Kakolin, kind of the same thing. Like, these are all just really high pressure warriors that aren't as good as some of these guys, as the guys above them, especially in the later stages at like killing people. Sheva, same deal. Guan, same deal. I don't think I'm going to be moving any of these warriors up or down. I think they're strong and in a good spot. And yeah, just really solid warriors. A+ is a solid tier to pick from when you're picking gods. Vamana needs to move down. This god got nerfed so hard, man. He feels so bad. I just think Vamana is just not great. His ult is just a little bit weak. What tier list is this? This is the Joust SMITE tier list. And I'm tempted to move Surtur down because I don't know if he has the same relevance as these other guys here. I'm honestly tempted to move Hercules and Sheva up a tier because I think these guys are just like a little bit better than the rest of the guys. Well, at least move them above because I think Sheva and Hercules, their pressure is like so good. They actually have like backline kill potential that makes them pretty darn strong. And these other guys like can do it, but not as easily. So I'll put those guys towards the higher end. I don't think they're like that much better than these other warriors down here, but Sheva and Hercules definitely are a little bit stronger than the other guys. All right, moving on. A tier. Will we be making any movements here? Yes, we will. There are some high contenders in this tier that I think are quite powerful at the moment. Odin and Sun Wukong are incredibly strong warriors right now. If you've been playing Joust at all recently, you may have noticed that Odin is getting picked all the freaking time. Everywhere. Everyone's picking stinking Odin. Because he's just so good with that rune forged item. And they buffed his 3, so it only takes 2 pulses to throw his 3. And they also consolidated the damage so that he does the damage a lot quicker too. So he just does like a quick thrust. And you can just get like a ton of poke off that. He's got the cage, of course, which is really good in a lot of scenarios. A lot of these gods struggle against the cage, specifically the tankier guys just don't have jumps or teleports or anything like that to get out. You know, Kuzenbo's getting stuck, Ares is getting stuck, Kraken's getting stuck, Terra's getting stuck, you know, all that. Sobek can get out now, though. They gave his ult that phantom effect. But yeah, Odin just incredibly strong, amazing poke, amazing pressure. His 3 is a 12-second base cooldown. So you just go like Runeforge, Glad Shield, Pridwin. You are feeling amazing on that god. And he's just like a nice, relatively safe character in general. You know, not like super vulnerable to just getting focused out because he can jump out. He's got that shield, can stun for himself. Just feels really good right now. God is really, really good. And I'd say he's a contender with Osiris. It's hard to say whether he should be above or below, though. All right, moving on. We've got through the Wukong up here. Like Wukong isn't as insanely potent as the Odin, but he is an incredibly strong character that does a very similar thing to Odin, but safer and not as much like team presence. Like he's definitely more of a selfish character, but Wukong passive is absolutely ridiculous. And the Runeforged meta that we've kind of started here favors him very nicely. Rushing that Runeforged, he is a very safe character that can protect himself. And it's like you just can't really focus this guy. You get like beads and blink on Wukong, and using that OP passive and using that OP Runeforged, you can just provide a lot to not only your team, but to finding yourself wiggling into the back line and slaying people. Just something that a lot of these warriors are not doing these days, is diving alone and killing carries. Wukong is one of the few characters that can actually do that. Can get to the backline and kill a carry. Like Achilles alone, late game, diving a backliner, he ain't killing nobody, bro. But Wukong could definitely do it. So Wukong has earned his spot as a very, very strong character in the Joust scene as of late. None of these warriors have had much happening to them that makes them significantly stronger. King Arthur had a buff that makes him interesting. He can apply basic attack, or yeah, he can apply item effects with using his basic attacks now. So he can apply like Frostbound, Chin Size, Equinox, that kind of thing. But it's not exactly the strongest thing ever, so we're gonna leave him there. That'll do it for warriors. We'll move straight on to the hunter class now. Let's see, any movement among the S+. Anhur is gonna stay. He's just Anhur and Hou Yi, they just do very similar things to each other. If you're playing well as a team, these two characters are just so incredibly good at like picking one guy and just pelting him down until he dies, and like they can make it very easy for your team to follow up on, which is something that hunters usually don't have, right? The Anhur pillar is just incredibly annoying for any frontliner to play against because that slow is just so painful and it makes him hit so much harder. And Hou Yi's got his 2 that does a very similar thing. And then he's got, on top of that, he's got his ultimate, which is an incredible team fight zoning ability. So these guys in team fights in particular are just super, super dangerous. And as a frontline player, you're like always scared of these guys. So Hou Yi and Anhur are very deserving of that S+ ranking. Hachiman, I think I'm going to keep him there as well. I think Hachiman is incredibly powerful. He's just so safe. You just can't kill this guy. If he chooses to play safely enough, he won't die. He doesn't bring that same like CC pressure and like single target destruction that Hou Yi and Anhur bring. But his ability to play from such a far range and be safe to like pretty much any dive besides walls are kind of like the only thing he can really get dove by consistently. But they usually don't end up being a problem because you can play from such a long distance with those eagle eye shots. Like Hachiman is just an incredible character, just does incredible damage too. And they've nerfed his ult a couple times. I think he's got a 120-second base cooldown ult. Used to be 90, and then it was 100, and then it was like 110, and then it's 120 now. Like, he's still just so good. His damage is so relevant. But he's definitely not as much of a playmaking hunter as like Anhur and Hou Yi are. You have to rely a bit more on your team, but if you lock someone down, you hit him with a Wukong Tiger, Runeforge proc, that guy is going to be taking at least half his health from that Hachiman while he's staying safe. So Hachiman is going to stay there for me. His late game burst is just so good, and his safety is just too good. Moving on down to the S rank, I think Ullr is going to stay. in the S tier. No other hunters in there. Ullr's just a really good poke character, but he's not killing targets as fast as the guys above him on Yi. Hachiman, he can poke out the enemy ADC guy, but if there are like people diving and you just need to kill people fast, Ullr is not your guy. He will not be killing the tanks particularly quickly. So if you just see like tank battles going on and both ADCs are free casting, big team fight, I would much rather have the Yi or the Hachiman on my team. You know what I mean? But you can definitely play a style of gameplay where you just weave and poke and just be really annoying with Ullr. That can make him super duper strong in particular drafts with particular playstyles. So you have to play a very particular way, but Ullr, to make Ullr like at his best, it definitely works. Is this an updated tier list? Yes, we are mid-hunter explanations right now, Trendary. Moving down on to the A+ tier, there definitely is going to be some movement in the ranks here. I think we're going to be moving up Marticarus, who does a similar thing to Ullr, but in terms of he's so safe and he does a lot of poke. But in some ways, I think Marty's actually better than Ullr, because he can go to the sky and be CC immune and no one can hit him. So you can get a lot more done in some scenarios as Marty. Just play like a coward. Your bushes are incredible tools to use to help not only you but your team, and they make you super duper fast like Ullr. So Marty, very, very strong character, does suffer a bit to the slows though. So if you get a Frostbound Warrior on you, it can be tough. Or if the Odin blinks on you, you're not feeling very good about that, right? Odin just blink 3s you. You're pretty much forced into using beads and Aegis or an ult, maybe multiple. So that sucks a lot for him. But super safe character with super consistent burst. Can play very similarly to Ullr, and in some ways does more. Other hunters, I'm tempted to move Xbalanque up. I think he probably does deserve to be moved up. Yeah, I'll move back to below. I think Xbal's burst is real nice. Problem is he brings like 0 pressure. As opposed to Ullr, as opposed to Marty, who can both clear the wave safely and quite easily. Xbal kind of just sits there and chucks the weakest things ever at the wave to try and clear it. So you need to pick other gods to support this dude, but his damage is quite immaculate, and that ultimate gives him that insane range, right? And he's just pumping out big damage onto tanks. So you need to support him, but he can pump out a lot of damage. Did I start with my explanations, or have I already moved to other classes? Explanations of what? We're doing it class by class. So we talked about warriors. I went through. I'm just going down by class and then through the tiers. So we did warriors, and now we're at hunters. Currently in the A+ of hunters right now. I don't think any of these hunters are gonna move anywhere. They're all pretty okay. Izanami is actually I think it's an underrated. I don't even. Why is Heimdall up here? How did he do that? I don't think Heimdall is this good. Well, we'll move him down. I don't think he's applying the deeps you want from an A+ character. Playing the BBC traditional thing? Possibly. I don't know if I'm going to play in the follow-up weeks, though. Might just, like, slide in the final tournament and just be, like, a bottom seed or whatever. Still thinking about it, though. All right, A tier for hunters. So these are A tier, of course, is your, just, like, they're all right to pick, but they're not, like, super, like, ban-worthy or anything. That's a very particular scenario. So I think most of these guys are kind of chilling down here. I'm going to move up Charybdis, though, because I think her damage is just really insane going into the late game. And she's just so safe, right? Really good against a lot of these meta divers, like Odin. She's pretty much immune to Odin. Can break the cage super easily, of course, with her triple auto. Really safe to Ares. Kraken can't touch her. Like, she's just looking real nice against a lot of these tanks, but she's not going to bring you that same offensive pressure that like a Marty would bring you, and Ullr would bring you with all the constant poke. The Xbal ult would bring you, you know. She's not bringing that focusing down a target on her own thing that like Hou Yin on her bring in, or that very insane range damage from afar that Hachiman's bringing. So she's a tad worse from that perspective, but her safety is so good and her damage is so consistent that she does deserve a place in this A+ tier, I would say. as well as AMC, will be skyrocketing up the tier list here. I'm going to place him either S or A+. plus. I want to say he's an S'er. Yeah. With either an ability build or an auto attack build, both can be used. But the ability one is probably a little bit more consistent for the AMC. He can just be like super duper annoying and stop your blinks all the time, apply a lot of bluestone, a lot of poke. Similar to Marty. The only difference is he's a lot less safe. So there's a lot more pre-planning that goes into playing an AMC because he can escape. Because he's so freaking fast. He gets like 30% movement speed, right? From his hives. At max rank, you just level the hive first, and his clears are very good, so he gives you a lot of pressure. So AMC just like brings a lot in general, so it's hard to dive him, not only because he's moving so fast, but because he's clearing your wave so fast. So like you might not even get the chance to dive him because you got to deal with the freaking wave first. So this guy is just so good in scenarios like that, but you definitely have to draft around him, similar to X-Ball. Jesse and David, perhaps we've been discussing it, but yeah, still some stuff going on there that we're working through. Other hunters in the B tier. Don't think these guys are moving anywhere. They're all still pretty bad. And, oh, Newt! Newt's a new hunter. I think she falls perfectly into the A tier. She's just like, okay. She's not amazing. She's not bad. Her range isn't great. Her damage is decent, but not good enough in comparison. So we're going to leave her down in the A tier alongside these other guys that are just alright. A tier is pretty much just for the alright characters. Probably never going to see him banned. You might see him picked here and there for fun or because somebody thinks it's a really good pick and they just like the god a lot. But other than that, won't see her very often. Moving on. Third class, we got the old Guardians. We'll definitely be seeing some big shifts around here. I think I'm going to leave Atlas and Fafnir up in the S+ tiers. I think these guys are just so good. So incredibly strong at shredding tanks and applying pressure. Fafnir pretty much unkillable. Can't really go on him unless he screws up and makes a silly play with his jump. Atlas a lot easier to focus out, but his turn potential on you is very scary. Especially when he's got a nice, strong supporting cast member of like an Odin or an Osiris or a Sun Wukong that can back him up and apply like Rune Forge, apply Frostbound, and like really slow you down when you try to focus him out and then end up turning on you. Odin being a high tier, very top tier character right now actually makes Atlas a lot stronger just because the Odin Atlas combo is so demonically good with just the double massive circle abilities. I played Odin Atlas E-set the other day, and we just kind of steamrolled the opponents because we just dropped 3 massive circles on the ground and they couldn't win. So definitely a very powerful character still. Deserves his spot as well as Fafnir. But the last character we haven't talked about, my boy Charon, he is going to be pretty much dropping off the face of the planet here. I'll be sending him down to the nether realm of the A+ region. He's just been nerfed so many times, and he just does not feel quite as impactful as he used to. His poke is still decent, and it's still annoying, but it's just not as good. It's not quite there, and he's not really protecting carries very well. His CC is he's got a silence. That's his CC, and an ult. That's its entirety. He's not bad by any means, but he ain't protecting nobody. And his offensive pressure has been weakened so much that he just doesn't feel that great. A similar thing has happened to my boy Bake Kujira, who will also be dropping down a little bit less. Now that we have finished the S+ tier, so we are in the S tier now of the Guardians. Bake Kujira has lost a lot of his damage. He's still a good character. His ult is still incredibly annoying to play against. But he will be dropping down because he has been nerfed a number of times. Quite a bit weaker. 2 Guardians I think are going to be moving up from the S tier here. Are my boys Kuzenbo and Sobek. Love to see me do a traditional only tier list. We could in the future. We'll see. Maybe around when the Blondie tourney starts. I wonder if anything's going to happen, actually, with the BBC now that SMITE Alpha has been announced. Probably will be looking more into news on that as it progresses. Where's my boat? Yeah, he's dead. He died. That dude ain't coming back anytime soon. But like I was talking about, Sobek and Kuzenbo are definitely climbing up the list here. Kuzenbo has really made a name for himself recently as being a very strong contender for picks and bans. Just a consistent character. Has some mana issues, but just super annoying to play against, especially as a hunter. One of the few guardians that can actually like solo hunters. There are hunters that are very good against him. Like Onher is pretty good at keeping him at bay. And if he messes up one dash, the Hou-Yi can very much kill him later on in the game. But very good with the control, just the Kappa spam, cooldown spam. He did get slightly nerfed on his 2 patch or 2 ago, but really consistent, good god, Kuzenbo. And then Sobek got a small buff, allows him to go through Odin walls. We were permabanning this character pretty much during the tournament that we played last. Thought this character was super strong. May have placed him a little lower on the tier list than we did around the tourney time. But this dude's really good. Very scary to play against, but that pluck late game can mean your death sometimes, so gotta be careful with it. But the pressure this god provides is just very, very good, and he's just so safe. Like, even if you screw up a pluck, or you hit a pluck and it gets beads, later on in the game, you can drop into your ult and give yourself a lot more tankiness. Makes it very hard to kill. So Sobek's just a very strong character. Rest of these characters, I think I'm going to leave them where they are. Ares has a potential to move up, but I think he's got too many decent matchups against him now that people have started to figure out that have made him kind of, I think he stalls and stays here. The rest of these Guardians I'm pretty fine with. I think they're all very good. All right, moving down. Bake and Charon already got adjusted. There are a couple guys in here I think we're going to move around. Just 2. My boy Jing Chen is going to join the ranks of the top Guardians. And Kulu is going to move up 1 tier, be among these guys. So things that have changed with these guys is Jing Chen got a massive buff to his passive, where he now gets passive, or temporary rather, HP. Just straight onto his HP bar. Just gets some free HP from his passive, depending on how many stacks he's got and what level he is. And he gets uncapped HP 5 from his passive. So you can build like Stone of Gaia, Glad Shield, like all these HP 5 items, and your passive will overcap you above 100 HP. I think people did some like ridiculous stuff where they comboed him with like Eset and Sheva and other HP boosting characters and got him up to like, I think it was like somewhere like 300 to 400 HP 5 at one point. So like you're healing like, 60 HP every second. Kind of ridiculous. Realistically, you're not really doing that kind of build on Jing, but you can very much get anywhere from like 120 to 150 HP 5 depending on your build, and it can feel real good. So this guy already was like incredibly safe and incredibly hard to kill, and that he just got scaled up with that. Also, Gem of ISO being a very good item now, being able to apply it at 100% uptime feels really good for Jing Chen. He just roars on you, hits you with a scream, and then you're slowed for an eternity. 5 seconds of Gem of ISO slow. 5 seconds of a 30% slow. Like, he literally just horrific you. That sucks. Great for him, bad for you. So, Jing Chen, incredibly strong Guardian right now. I don't think anything else is moving here. I think I might move Yamoja down a tier. Yeah, she just isn't. She's just okay. She's just not having that impact. But I think everything else is good here. I'm going to move Bacchus to the top of these guys. I think he's a bit better. Bacchus definitely has some good niche uses, just like all these other dudes. So like Bacchus, Charon, we'll put Bacchus at the bottom of these. All right, moving on into the A tier. Guardians that are changing around. I'll move Jormungandr up into A+. I think he's deserving of it. He does a similar thing to Kulu. Oh, we forgot to talk about Kulu. We'll talk about that just after this. Jormungandr, just good consistent damage. Seen him have some decent effect in recent games. He does good stuff. Good damage. Still, his weakness is his ult kind of sucks in terms of like actually being confirmable. But his pressure is really solid. He uses that Gem of Iso item really well. And he's just a really annoying tank that just hits you a lot from distance. So, Jormungandr, decent pick. Put him in the A+ tier. And then Kulu, the other god we moved up into the S ranks now. This god has he got a buff to his 2, a quality of life. Buff that put him a bit higher here. Makes him a priority pick for a lot of people. I've seen a lot of bans thrown his way. This does a whole lot of damage. Has 7 damaging abilities if you count them all up. And good pressure, good consistent pressure now. You can't really cancel his 2 really easily. So he just drops his 2 from a mile away. And there goes half the HP of all the minions. So, Kulu, very strong character. Definitely not without counters. And beat him down with a lot of auto attackers. Erlang Shen, very key against him. Can lock him away from chasing people with stuff like Cabrakan ults, Odin walls. You know, you just very much limit his squid form. And if you get to him before a fight actually starts and poke him out, he's just feeling terrible about that. So he's definitely an all-in character that you need to play a very specific style with. And he's always been that way. But that early pressure from him feels really nice. And if you get ahead, it feels unbeatable in the team fight. So Kulu, very strong. You think Bacchus S? Perhaps. I don't know. I don't think he's worth picking at the same rate as the Guardians above him, though. I just think these other guys just should be picked a little bit more often than him. He definitely has niche cases. Don't get me wrong, but I think I'm kind of happy with him either at the top here or at the bottom here. So, yeah, I'll give it to you. I'll put him at the bottom here. How about that? I think Box is good, but I'm not picking him as often as the other guys above him, so yeah. I'll give you either bottom of S Guardians or top of A+ Guardians. Alright. Moving on down into the A tier. None of these characters are really making many rumblings, so I think we're good. And Geb, Ymir, Kumba. I'll give Geb A. I think he's alright. He's pickable, but he's definitely not great. So we'll leave him here in the A tier. And Kumba, Ymir have definitely not had any glow-ups recently. They will be staying. No other Guardians. Fantastic. I think I'm actually going to delete the C tier here. Because, honestly, dude, it doesn't even matter once we go below A, any of these other characters. So, they're all just weak, don't play gods. So, we'll remove this tier. Delete row. Boom. Now we only have 2 more classes to go. Mages and Assassins. How long has it been? Half an hour? Alright. Making decent time. I'm going to move Baron Samedi down 1 tier, I think. Still the most powerful support mage, I would say, by a fair margin. But definitely beatable, you know. His pressure's not as great. Definitely don't think a lot of people have figured him out still. A lot of people just avoid playing him. But he does get many bans. He'll get a ban here and there, but definitely not worthy of an S+ here. We'll give him the S, because he is just very good against a lot of these tanks. 100% struggle against the Baron, and there are a lot of carries as well that struggle against Baron. I'm thinking stuff like Osiris can actually struggle quite a bit against the Baron. Atlas doesn't have fun there, but all 4 of these guys are Baron, no problem, you know. Cabrakan kind of struggles. Ares super struggles against Baron. Terra doesn't like that. Ganesh definitely doesn't like it. Bacchus hates it. So he does well into the tanks is what you'd normally be looking to pick Baron into. They pick AMC, they pick well, I said tanks, but AMC is definitely another character that gets screwed by Baron. Erlang Shen is playing against Baron. Achilles, one of his worst matchups is Baron Samedi. He's just really good against a lot of the tanks. So you just have to pick it at the right spot. So moving on. S tier mages, I think Vulcan is staying here. God is nice and strong. Ishel, still nice and strong. Cuckoo is getting kicked down to A+. Definitely not as strong as these other guys. Thoth will stay. Baba will stay. Morgan will stay. I think all these mages, if you're picking mages, these are the best go-to mages. And Raijin? I'm going to move Raijin down to A+, but top of A+. I think he's probably the best of these guys. I think he's in a similar situation to Bacchus ratings, where I think he's like, if he is an S, then he's the bottom, and if he's an A+, then he's probably the top. Why is Bellona bad now or worse? They nerfed her ult down to, it's up to rather, 90 seconds instead of 75. And her late game doesn't come in as clutch as these other guys. She doesn't burst people as hard, but she is incredibly annoying for a lot of the different picks. So she's still very good. But I think I'd just be picking the people above her just a little bit more often. They're just more consistent than she is. But her early is still incredibly strong. Like that level 3 Bellona on the first wave is so impossibly hard to deal with. So she's still really good, but not as good. All right, moving on here. We talked about the mages there. All right, move mages into the A+ tier. Whole bunch of them in here. I've come to respect the E set a lot, but she kind of does a similar thing to Baron. E set I'm honestly tempted to go S, but we just haven't seen enough of her. I definitely see the potential, but I don't think there are a lot of E set players, so won't be seeing that for a bit, perhaps. We'll move Agni up around here. That was pretty good. I don't know if there's going to be any movement up or down for any of these guys. Just looking through them. I think I'm pretty happy with them being in the A+ tier. I guess I could move Tiamat up, especially considering what we've seen Paul been doing on that character, but I don't know. I think she's manageable. She's still more manageable than these other guys that are above her. Can move her up in the rankings here. But yeah, don't really think these mages are moving up or down. We'll leave them. Yep. Look at the A tier. Anything egregious? I'm gonna move Zhang up a little bit. Go A+. Auto attack Zhang we saw from Hydrogen in the most recent BPC tourney was looking pretty devious. I actually played it myself earlier today. Quite strong. So Zhang will get a little bump. He's definitely not as bad as these guys, so feeling good. But these guys are just playable. They're not amazing. These guys in the A tier. H class. And let's see. I kind of did some of these guys dirty. I think I'll move up Zeus and Janice up into A, but that's not exactly the greatest blow up for them. I just think that they can do some very niche things that can make them pickable in some very niche scenarios. Like Janice, if you just really need to live, pretty good. And they just have like really beefy tanks, and like the only requirement is for you to live. Like Janice can be good. And Zeus just has like really good burst. Kind of similar to Opwatch actually. You know, just really easy to kill that guy. And they're just like a step better. Like these A tier don't matter too much, but they're probably better than these guys. Alright. Moving on. I think that's all the mages, yeah? Don't think we're moving any of these B tier guys anywhere. They're all just pretty bad. Just don't play them. B is for bad. Yu Huang slept on? Did I leave him down here? Oh, he's an A+. That's good rating for Yu Huang. These A+ is like solid picks to go that are probably going to get through, because they're not like that good. Like these are definitely A+ is the realm of X player plays X god incredibly well and makes it look really good. That's what A+ is for. You want Nemesis up a tier? Well, we're moving into Assassins right now. The first assassin we encounter is Naja in the S tier. I'm on the fence about this one. You guys think he should move down, or you think he's good where he is? Any opinions? 'Cause I think this god has fallen off a cliff in terms of relevance. Is this a Joust tier list? Yes, it is. Have I done Guardians? Yes. Guardians are in the spot where I like them. Naja feels bad now. He does. He does not feel amazing. Down? Yeah, I'll put him down. I wanted to, but I had to get some confirmation. We'll send him down. He just gets out pressured and thrashed around on this map a little too hard. You go Axe on him, you go Thebes on him. Still, it just takes too long, and then his impact, especially like comboing with Hunters. Hunters have gained a lot of traction to the point where it just like feels like most people are running Hunters and not mages. So like unless you're playing Naja with like Thoth or just some other thing that can fall up hard off of his ult, like Vulcan, it just feels a lot weaker. Because like Naja setting up for my Hachiman isn't really prevalent, you know? Local scammer. Thanks for the follow. Alright. Moving on, that was the only assassin in S. We'll move down to A+ now. I think there are some nice little glow-ups for some of these guys. I will be moving up Serket and Thor up into the S tier. I think these gods are very, very solid rune-forged abusers, which is an item that wasn't getting utilized as much as it should have. And now that we've seen it come to the forefront a bit more, people figuring out about this rune-forged rush idea. Crazy, who would have thought of it? These gods are seeing a lot more play, or Serket at least. Thor should be, but he's not. He does a similar thing, though. And, yeah, they're just really good in the team fight at poking people out. And set up a lot for your team as well, a lot of hard CC. And are just really nice to have on your team, especially as a carry character. Their pressure isn't as amazing as some of these other guys in other classes, but their teamfight impact is just so good with that Rune Forged. As for these other guys in A+, I think they're chilling. Yeah, they're chilling. Ain't no movements down there. We'll be moving up Hoonbots into the A+ tier. I think that god is very nice with that ability spam on his ult. Can make team fights kind of insta wins. Definitely giving him more respect than I gave him before. And Nemesis will be moving up for sure. I'm honestly tempted to put Nemesis in S because I think she's really good. But until we see more data on Nemesis, we'll allow her to chill as the best assassin in A+ for now. I think Nemesis is really, really good. You get a burst build, throw a chin size on it if you need it. Throw a Magi's on it if you need it. You just build Axe full damage with Jotuns and stuff like Hydras, Erendite, Brawlers, Heartseeker, and you just run around and 2 people. 2. Nemesis has a 10% non-ult cooldown buff outside of Conquest. And I believe it's also 10% reduced damage taken outside of Conquest. It's either 10 or 5%. So she is incredibly spammy and hard to kill, just naturally. That combined with a number of buffs she's gotten recently, to her 2 being more damage, her 3 being 50 higher shield at all ranks, and her 1 scaling down and cooldown down to 11 second base, meaning with max CDR plus 10% cooldown from your non-conk buff, you can get her dash down to 5.5 seconds. Nemesis is atrociously annoying to play against. And especially with most people running double tank comps, she will be ulting one of them. And just making them feel like they don't want to play, and you put that with a hunter that has CC, you just like Nemesis ult someone, and then the Hoi Ricochet 2-1. That guy is not feeling very good, you know? You just insta-force someone out without really putting much effort into it. She does get CC'd out. Pretty tough for her. Like, from long range, if you can CC her, it feels real bad to be Nemesis. Like, you play Serket or Thor against Nemesis, it can feel pretty bad. Naja definitely is one of those characters that has a really good matchup against her, so yeah, we'll keep her in A+ for now. But the rest of these assassins, I'll move up Robin because I think he's actually decent dive. Robin bots definitely deserve to be a little bit higher than these guys. I think they're just a little bit more effective. They offer a lot to the team fight, and really solid dive from Robin. And then Hunbot's just that ult being so spammable. He does have that non-conquest buff. 10%. Same as Nemesis. 10% less damage taken and 10% off his non-ultimate ability cooldowns. Makes him pretty strong. But these other assassins are pretty weak, honestly. And same thing goes with the assassins in B tier. Don't think anyone's making any movements here. Even with Equinox, Frostbound, I don't even think we can move up Arachne or Baka. I'll move up Mercury because I think he's actually kind of playable. But yeah, we'll put Thanatos up a little bit too, and same with Loki. But Arachne and Baka, don't be trolls, guys. Don't play them. These guys can definitely find like some play. It's a very niche character. How come Serban S? You love him? Feels pretty bad. Yeah, I was actually kind of looking at that myself, to be honest with you. But I think Serb is he's just better than these other ones that are down here, honestly. Might be able to squeeze him in towards the bottom here. I think he's in a similar position to Bacchus. Just like, if you're playing a mage comp with a Serb, I think it feels like infinitely better. And I just feel like Serb feels really good against particular comps. So if you're running a mage, you're running like a Morgan Le Fay, you're running Thoth, you're running Baba, you're running like any of these mages, he's just going to scale up their damage so much. And of course, he's a classic counter pick into stuff like Aphrodite. He's definitely weaker. Feels not as great, for sure. But I don't think he's A+ material. I think he's better. Just by a hair. Just by a hair. Unless you can secure the one. Yeah, I don't think the one is that difficult of an ability to land, though. I think it's more about just like using your one at the right time. Definitely does feel nice if someone can set you up, like an Erlong pin or something. I don't think it's like necessary or anything. But he's just a good god in my opinion. I think he just does good damage with amazing shred that feels really good for your whole team. The ult is kind of but like it's a good ult. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like an amazing ult. But if you're able to be kind of like Guan Yu and like freely cast your 2, kind of like how if Guan Yu is able to freely cast his 3, like feels so good. And you get Stone of Binding on top, just to make people so squishy. Like I think he's one of those few guardians that can actually solo a carry towards the late game. Like I'm looking at these other guys. I don't think a Cabrakan is ever soloing my squishy, but a Cerberus might just. So, yeah. I think Mystical Mail. Mystical Mail is an item that Cerberus can use really well. Like if you're just playing a really dive-heavy comp, I think Cerb finds a really nice place onto the team. And then you just have a mage playing from like max distance. It'd be solid. But I think this is going to be the final list. I'll turn the cam off for a moment if you want just to see those few assassins that we don't care that much about. Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this one, guys. There definitely are some questions to be made about possible placements here. But as it stands, I think we're looking at a pretty accurate tier list for 11.4 here. Leave a comment down below if you think something was egregiously misplaced or if something should be, maybe in your opinion, moved up a little bit down below. At the end of the day, it all is about your experience. Like, you might think that Tsukuyomi is the most broken thing Joust has ever seen. And that can be true to you and not true to me. So, you know, there's no right or wrong answer here. There's just a careful estimation that we can make about all these characters in terms of strength and weakness. So this is my opinion currently on the state of Joust, of where every character resides relative to each other. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Don't forget to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you did enjoy. And I'll catch you in the next one.